The Fallen Mountain battle, which had shook the entire Central Plains, had finally come to an end with the defeat of the chief of the Hall of Souls, leaving many feeling that they had not watched their fill. The final result had somewhat exceeded many people's expectations. The Hall of Souls, a faction that had stood as the overlord of the Central Plains for hundreds of years, had finally met a powerful faction that could keep them in check after having acted fearless and overbearing for such a long time. The Sky Mansion Alliance, an alliance made up of a couple of large factions, which had not been given high regards by those from the older generations, had begun to rise at a shocking speed after a couple of years of integration. Moreover, the number of experts gathered in the alliance had also caused some of the old factions to feel ashamed. A Doshang-class expert was an ancestor that guarded the sect, but this Sky Mansion Alliance had a total of 10 of them. This number had caused everyone to understand that the Sky Mansion Alliance had not simply relied on luck to survive until this day. This became very apparent when these elite Doshangs were led by an expert who had defeated a 5-star Doshang, the chief of the Hall of Souls. That shock was unmatchable. After this battle, everyone understood that the reputation of the Sky Mansion Alliance would spread to every corner of the Central Plains. That grand battle would undoubtedly be spread by an uncountable number of people in a respectful fashion. The transfer of the position of Overlord shook the Central Plains. The result of the Fallen Mountain battle had stirred an earth-shaking level of shock and joy after being transmitted back to the Sky Mansion Alliance. During this half a month's time, the entire alliance had descended into a wild joy. From this moment forth, the Sky Mansion Alliance would possess an unmatchable reputation within the Central Plains. All the members of the alliance, including the outermost members, would be able to stick their chests out with great pride when interacting with others because the uniform on their chests displayed a badge that told everyone that they belonged to the alliance. The glory of the alliance was also their glory. While the entire Sky Mansion Alliance had descended into a wild joy, no one forgot the person who had brought them this victory. That earth-shaking battle was repeated from individual to individual and was regarded as the most outstanding battle among outstanding battles. Xiao Yin was being described as a divine being. These rumors caused Xiao Yin to involuntarily break into a stunned smile. However, these rumors had caused many members of the Sky Mansion Alliance to treat him like a divine being whom they could not offend. This was a blind respect. It was the faith of a believer. After one's reputation had accumulated to a certain extent, it would quietly rise in one's heart. The respect these alliance members felt for Xiao Yin was rising with a fervor. Yao Lao and the others were a little surprised at this situation, but they did not hinder this respect because such faith would increase their cohesion. Moreover, the only person in the Sky Mansion Alliance who had the ability to instill such faith was Xiao Yin. The wild joy within the alliance continued for half a month before it gradually calmed down. Although the excitement of the ordinary members was a little crazy, the upper echelons of the alliance continued to remain calm. This narrow victory against the Hall of Souls gained the alliance an immeasurable amount of benefits. However, being in this peak spot would also mean that they would face open hostility and hidden schemes. In the past, the Hall of Souls was extremely powerful. Under the deterrence of its ferocity, no one dared to act against it. However, the Sky Mansion Alliance had risen a little too quickly. It had only been established for a very short period of time. Some of the old factions within the Central Plains plotted against it with ill intent. After all, the Sky Mansion Alliance and the Hall of Souls were fundamentally different. The Hall of Souls was extremely ruthless in everything they did. They completely ignored all other factions. If they had not possessed the secret support of the Hun clan, a resistance would have already formed given their actions. Now, the Sky Mansion Alliance had leaped ahead and become the new overlord. Naturally, it would not be able to adopt the same approach as the Hall of Souls. After all, They were not backed by an existence like the Hun clan. Hence, soon after the big battle came to an end, the upper echelons issued orders to strictly prohibit any members from acting arrogant and overbearing toward others. All their actions should remain as usual. Those who disobeyed would be expelled from the alliance. Under the suppression of this harsh punishment, the Sky Mansion Alliance appeared extremely calm from the perspective of others after obtaining a great victory. Hardly any matters that could damage the alliance spread, causing many people to quietly nod. They held the alliance in higher regard. Although the Sky Mansion Alliance had surpassed the Hall of Souls, the Hall of Souls was still in existence. Moreover, it did not suffer a great loss. They were looking at the alliance with ill intent and waiting for it to make a mistake before attacking again. While the Sky Mansion Alliance was steadily rising, an increasing number of factions across the Central Plains who hated the Hall of Souls began to join. These people had been afraid of the Hall of Souls in the past. Hence, they chose to endure their hatred. Now that this Sky Mansion Alliance had appeared out of nowhere and had surpassed the Hall of Souls, it was only natural for these people to swarm over and join them. The alliance did not simply randomly absorb this huge number of members. They adopted a strict and complicated selection process before accepting them as outer alliance members. An exception was made only to those who were extremely strong and could be trusted, allowing them to be absorbed into the inner alliance. This orderly absorption caused the strength of the huge Sky Mansion Alliance to quietly soar once again. A stream wandered through the forest within the deepest part of the Star Realm. It soon transformed into a silver waterfall that quickly fell down, landing in a clear lake below. A human figure was seated on the surface of the water at the middle of the lake. He did not move. The ripples that fluctuated and spread across the water automatically disappeared when they were 10 meters away from him, like there was an extremely quiet aura around him that was giving him a strange appearance. Buzz. This silence continued for around half a day before the human figure finally opened his tightly shut eyes. A faint fire glow flashed across his dark black eyes. He lowered his head. He frowned as he glanced at his palm. There was a black bead suspended half an inch above his palm. The color of the bead was an extremely deep black. At a glance, it appeared just like a small black hole. It even felt like it was trying to pull one's soul into it. The human figure was naturally Xiao. 3 months had passed since the battle at the Fallen Mountain. During these 3 months, the Sky Mansion Alliance seemed to have undergone a complete transformation. Repeated and drastic changes continued to occur, but Xiao did not intervene in these matters. He was not really good when it came to managing the faction. Forcing himself to get involved would only lead to more losses than gains. Yao Lao was also clearly aware of this point. Hence, he allowed Xiao to train alone and did not disturb him. Xiao spent all of his free time in training. Xiao got along very well with the little fairy doctor and Qing Lin. Hence, she did not really stick beside Xiao. Moreover, there was also the old-fashioned and strict Xiao Chun constantly monitoring her training, so he ended up with the most free time after the big battle. These 3 months of training did increase Xiao strength. Currently, he had stabilized as an initial 5-star Dosheng. Even though the flame mantra had already evolved into a quasi-Tian class Qi method, the 3 months of energy absorption was merely a drop in an ocean for Xiao. Only at this moment did he discover just how difficult it was to raise one's strength in the Dosheng class unless there were some special circumstances. Although these 3 months of training did not allow Xiao to increase his level, he still managed to make an exceptional gain. This gain came from when Little E had swallowed the Nihility Devouring Flame's flame seed. The Nihility Devouring Flame was said to be able to devour anything. It could even swallow energy and Do Qi, and was incomparably overbearing. Its strange devouring power would cause one to feel envious. Moreover, The thing that caused one's heart to be truly attracted to it was that as long as one was able to refine a flame seed from the Nihility Devouring flame, one would gain the chance of obtaining its ability. Although this ability was not comparable to the Nihility Devouring flame, it was extremely useful for training. Hence, Xiao Yan had spent most of his time studying that devouring power. Xiao Yan's observations had not exceeded his expectations. A black-colored bead had gradually formed within Xiao Yan's body after little E swallowed the Nihility Devouring Flame's flame seed, since both of them were heavenly flames. Xiao Yan could sense a devouring power, which could even swallow one's soul, within this bead. Xiao Yan rejoiced after having obtained this black bead, which contained that devouring power. If he could gain this devouring power, he would undoubtedly be able to train a lot more effectively, but his joy did not last for long before he discovered something terrible. If this bead was placed in his body, it would gradually swallow the Do Qi within his body. Moreover, Xiao Yan was even vaguely able to sense that his life force was also being absorbed along with his Do Qi. Xiao Yan had discovered that the energy absorbed by this devouring power was extremely impure, and the impurities within this energy agglomerated together because of the devouring power. It was extremely difficult to remove these impurities even when he used his heavenly flame. He was unable to absorb the energy that had been devoured. This damn thing. Xiao Yan's expression had become quite ugly after sensing this situation. This thing was not only useless, it was also harmful. From the looks of this devouring power, an ordinary person would really not be blessed to enjoy it. Xiao Yan shook his head in disappointment. He glanced at the black bead before flipping his hand. He was just about to store it in his storage ring when a pink flame escaped his hand. Little E appeared. His flabby hand wrapped around the bead as desire filled his little face. Huh. Xiao Yan was startled upon seeing Little E appear. Iwa, give it to me. Little E hugged the bead as a desire filled his face. It appeared as though saliva was about to fall out of his mouth. He had greatly coveted this thing right from the start. However, Xiao Yan had been studying it, and he has not been able to do anything about that. He immediately appeared when he saw that Xiao Yan was finally planning to give up. Xiao Yan was startled after seeing Little E appear. Little E's intelligence was growing. He was even able to use his tender voice to utter some words, but this was the first time Xiao Yan had heard him actively request something. It is not beneficial to keep this thing, Xiao Yan knit his brows and replied. Although this bead contained the devouring power, it did not segregate between enemies and allies. More importantly, this thing devoured one's life force. Whoever placed this thing within one's body would likely end up aging and becoming weak. Little E shook his little head. A pink flame surged from his body and wrapped around the black bead, after which it forcefully merged this bead with his body. Xiao Yan hesitated for a moment after seeing Little E's anxious actions, but he did not stop him. Although Little E was merely a fire spirit, he possessed extremely sharp senses when it came to danger. He would not act like this if the black bead was actually harmful. The bead was rapidly merged into Little E's body as Xiao Yan watched. The moment the bead was about to disappear, a strand of an extremely faint black flame suddenly surged out of Little E's body, after which it swiftly headed toward his head. Xiao Yan and Little E shared a mental connection. Thus, Xiao Yan was naturally able to detect the unexpected change. His expression quickly changed. Puff! Little E did not panic because of this sudden change. Lines made out of pink fire quickly formed. These lines turned into a fire net that restrained the black flame, after which the web made from fire quickly shrank, forcefully shattering the wisp of black flame into a large black light spot. Finally, a flame swept over and merged the black light spot into Little Yi's body. Chi! The pink flower lotus fire seal on Little Yi's forehead gradually revealed an additional black line after this black light spot merged with Little Yi's body. At a glance, it appeared somewhat mysterious. Iwa. After completely swallowing the black light spot, Little E suddenly extended his little hand and grabbed at the empty space in front of him. An invisible ripple was quickly formed. The energy around this lake swiftly gathered into his palm. Within a short moment, the energy had transformed into a five-colored spotted crystal. This crystal was swallowed by Little E. Xiao was stunned as he watched this scene. After the impure energy crystal entered Little Yi's body, it was swiftly separated into waves of aboriginal energy that appeared within Xiao body without reason. This? Xiao face was stunned. It was a long while later before a thought passed through his mind. He began to refine that pure energy and turn it into Do Qi, which he then merged into his body. This energy is something that this little thing has ended up feeding back to me. Xiao eyes were searing hot as he stared at Little E in front of him. The energy he had been given had come from the impure crystal this little fellow had just swallowed. These energy crystals, which Xiao has not been able to absorb, had turned into pure energy after passing through Little Yi's body. A portion of this energy was subsequently fed back to him. Iwa, Little E proudly swayed its small head. After absorbing the energy crystal, the pink flame on his body seemed to have become a little brighter. Moreover, Xiao could vaguely detect that the current Little E appeared slightly stronger than before. This little thing can actually train? Surprise flashed through Xiao eyes after this thought formed in his heart. That devouring power allowed Little E to absorb energy from the surroundings to strengthen himself like a human. If this was really the case, Little E would end up growing stronger and stronger in the future. Xiao, who was mentally connected with Little E, would be able to raise his own strength as well. In this way, it seemed that Xiao had gained an additional free worker. Moreover, it was a worker that did not know how to complain or feel tired. It seems that I have accidentally obtained a good result. Xiao fondled his chin. He did not have the slightest idea on how to refine the seed flame of the Nihility Devouring flame. All he could do was randomly attempt to refine it. However, it was fortunate that Little E boasted a strange constitution. Being a heavenly flame, it was able to accept this unique ability that originally belonged to the Nihility Devouring flame. Haha, it seems that you have managed to create a strange thing during this training. A familiar, elderly laugh suddenly appeared while Xiao was rejoicing over the results of his training. Xiao lifted his head and saw Yao Lao land from the sky. Both of his feet walked across the surface of the lake. Xiao grinned and asked, "Is there a problem within the Alliance? Has there been any activity from the Hall of Souls?" All is well. As for the Hall of Souls, some of the branch halls, which we have found, have been shifted based on the information that we have received recently. Perhaps they are afraid that we will strike again and destroy those branch hall. Yao Lao fondled his beard and laughed. Shifted? Xiao knit his brows upon hearing this news. For some unknown reason, he felt that the recent actions of the Hall of Souls were a little unusual. Given their character, they could not endure the humiliation of suffering such a loss to the hands of the Sky Mansion Alliance. Are you feeling that there is something wrong? Yao Lao also smiled after seeing Xiao facial expression. He quickly sighed. I have already mentioned that the Hall of Souls seems to be scheming something. Otherwise, they would not have gathered souls for so many years. Although I do not know what their plan is, it is likely not good news for us if the Hall of Souls is allowed to complete it. Xiao nodded. The defeat of the Hall of Souls had caused it to lose a great amount of face. Additionally, the Hun clan did not show the slightest activity. This made it difficult for one to clearly know just what this mysterious clan was planning to do. I will dispatch some spies to specifically investigate this matter. Hopefully, we will be able to obtain some information. Xiao quietly nodded. His heart felt pressured. Although his strength had reached the 5th star of the Doshan class, he was still unable to rescue his father from the Hun clan. He had never thought of forcefully barging into the Hun clan from the beginning. Not because he was afraid, rather it was because the current Xiao clan could not afford him suffering a mishap. If anything happened to him, no one would be able to rescue his father and revitalize the Xiao clan. Hence, he would not take such a big risk unless he was absolutely confident. 5-star Dosheng is still insufficient. Xiao Yan's eyes flickered. He no longer needed to be afraid of the Hall of Souls with his strength, but the Hall of Souls was merely an external faction for the Hun clan. His true enemy was the most mysterious and greatest being within the Doqi continent, the Hun clan. A 5-star Dosheng was considered a peak expert anywhere else. However, if one wished to fight the Hun clan, it was still insufficient. Back then, Xiao Xin possessed the strength of a 9-star Dosheng, but he still ended up dying by the hands of the Hun clan. A mere 5-star Dosheng would not be able to stir a wave. Xiao Yan's expression involuntarily became a little shady after having such thoughts. With his current strength, there was no longer any shortcuts left to swiftly raise his strength. He had already obtained the purifying demonic lotus flame. The second-ranked Nihility Devouring flame had already landed in the hands of the Hun clan. As for the first on the heavenly flame ranking, Xiao Yan bitterly laughed. That thing could not even be adequately described by the words divine object. One would be daydreaming if one was thinking of obtaining it. I'm afraid that I can forget about more heavenly flames. Xiao Yan softly sighed. A spiritual light suddenly flashed in his heart. He flipped his hand and a jade piece with an ancient aura appeared in his hand. The ancient jade was covered with mysterious lines. At the middle of the ancient jade was a partially visible tiny light spot. It was the spiritual imprint of his father. This jade was naturally the Tushi ancient god jade that the Gu and Hun clans wished to obtain. Yalao by the side was also slightly startled after seeing Xiao Yan suddenly take out the Tushi ancient god jade. He merely stared at Xiao Yan in surprise. Xiao Yan rubbed the ancient jade. His fingers slowly rubbed that light spot. An apologetic feeling rose within his heart. Despite being a son, he was only able to watch his father suffer at the hands of the Hun clan. This was an unfilial act. Father, Yenner has never forgotten about you. Once I possess the strength to head to the Hun clan, I will definitely rescue you as soon as possible. Xiao Yan's teeth bit his lower lip tightly. A moment later, he inhaled a deep breath of air and suppressed the churning emotions within his heart. The Tushi ancient god jade is related to the Tushi ancient god's mansion. However, this jade has been separated into 8 pieces. It is clearly impossible for me to gather all of them. Xiao Yan's eyes flashed. An image suddenly flashed across his mind. It was a magma world. Xiao Yan had met Tian Huazunjia in that place. Jianan Academy's underground magma world. Xiao Yan had sensed unusual activity coming from the Tushi ancient god jade in that place. Now that he thought about it, it was indeed a mystery. Deep within the magma world were strange magma creatures that seemed to be guarding something. The magma world beneath the inner academy. Perhaps I should find some time to head there and probe around? Yao Lao helplessly shook his head after seeing Xiao Yan fall deep into thought. He softly coughed and handed over a beast-skin scroll. He said, "This is a message from the 9 serene deep ground python tribe. It is for you. Take a look." Yao Ming. Xiao Yan was startled upon hearing this information. He received the scroll while feeling slightly uncertain, after which he slowly opened it. A line of red words immediately appeared in his sight. The demon phoenix has attacked. There is an unusual activity coming from the 9 serene spring. Xiao Yan suddenly stood up. His expression was gloomy. His frightening aura caused even the waterfall behind him to stop flowing. Kai Lin,